So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing the theme of going through some GCSE Maths higher past exam questions, looking at some big mark questions. Now as always there'll be a copy of the questions and the mark scheme for you to click on and have an attempt at before watching through this video, so we go through the answers, which I strongly recommend you do so you can see how much you know and what score you would have got of without looking through the answers. Now looking at the big mark questions that we're going to go through in this video, you can see that the questions and topics that they're related to are exclusive to generally one topic. So here we're looking at circle theorems, histograms, proportion, algebraic proof and volumes of cuboids and rates. Now that last question is probably the one that probably stands out more as an amalgamation of two different particular topics. So let's get started looking at question 1. So question 1, if I just zoom in there, says PAQ and PB are tangents to the circle where AC is equal to BC. And it says to work out the size of angle X, you must show your working, which may be on the diagram, which is always very helpful. So looking at this, as we know that PQ is a tangent, then what we can do is we can use the alternate segment theorem to know that this angle here is going to be 52. Now we don't need to give any reasons or any supporting background for this, so that should be fine, but I'm just going to write AST for the alternate segment theorem. Then from this, as we know that the triangle inside the circle is an isosceles triangle, that then means that this angle here will always also be 52 degrees because it's an isosceles triangle. So we just write isosceles triangle. Then from this we can then work out what this angle here is, because angles on a straight line. So angles on a straight line, and that equals 180. So that angle there is going to be 180 minus 52 minus 52, which is 104. So that angle there is going to be 76 degrees. So that's 76. Then another circle theorem is that when you've got an external point, that two tangents to that point to the circle are also going to be equal length. So that means that this angle here is also going to be 76 degrees. So then to work out X, all I then need to do is 180 minus 76 minus 76, which gives me an answer of 28 degrees. So X equals 28 degrees. Then moving on to question 2, it says that 70 people gave information about the number of hours they worked in 1 week. The table and the histogram show some information. We know that X to Y is in the ratio of 3 to 5. Complete the histogram. Remember to label the scale on the frequency density axes. So let's first of all look at this first. So we know that there's 70 people altogether, so that needs to add up to 70. Now if we do the subtraction of 70 minus 21 minus 17, that gives us an answer of 32. And so X plus Y equals 32. Now they are in the ratio of 3 to 5, so if I then write that as a ratio, so X to Y is in the ratio of 3 to 5, so 32 divided by 8, which gives me an answer of 4. And then all I then need to do is 3 times 4, which is 12, and 5 times 4, which is 20. So that means that X is going to equal 12 and Y is going to equal 20. So the next thing for me then to do is to create my 2 extra columns. So I need the class width and I need the frequency density. So the class width is going to be 10, 10, 20 and 10. And then the frequency density, all I've got to do is just simply divide the numbers in the frequency by the class width. So that's going to give me a frequency density of 2.1, 1.2, 1 and 1.7. Then looking at the histograms, looking at those values, that this needs to be 2.1. Now it's very difficult to do this on the screen, but basically what you should find is that every little box of 5 is going to represent 0.2. So if I just do 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2.0, and then the next one would be 2.2. So this there is 2.1. Now for the next one, what I've then got to do is plot the rest. So the next one is going to be at 1.2, and that is going to have a width of 10. So again, very awkward to do this on the screen, so I will try and do this. And again, this needs to be done with a ruler, which clearly I'm not using, but if I match up where they need to be, so that's going to have a height of 1.2. The next one needs to have a height of 1, and that's going to go all the way up to 40. And then scroll down, so that's going to be 1.0. And then the last one, which is going to be at 1.7 from 40. And again, just a little disclaimer, you do need to make sure that you are using a ruler, because these lines need to be straight. But to save a bit of time in this video, I've opted not to do that, but I am going to try and do this one again. And hopefully it's a little bit more straight to 40, like so. And that's at 1.7. And there we go. Then moving on to question 3, it says the pie chart shows the proportion of males and female teachers in 15,074 schools. The mean number of teachers per school is 13.7. It says work out the total number of female teachers in these schools. Give your answer to 2 significant figures. So the first thing we need to then work out is basically looking at the total number of teachers. So the total number of teachers, and that calculation is going to be equal to 13.7 multiplied by 15,074, which gives me an answer of 206,513.8. Then from this, what we then need to do is then work out the number of female teachers, and we do that by looking at the proportion. So here, the proportion is going to be for female teachers. Well, this angle here is going to be 310, so it's going to be 310 over 360, and we're going to multiply that by 206,513.8. Then if we type that all into our calculator, we should have an answer of 177,831.327 recurring. And then we just want to round that number up to 2 significant figures. So it's going to be to nearest 10,000, which is going to be an answer of 180,000. And that's been rounded to sig fig. Moving on to question 4, it says prove that, and we've got 5x multiplied by x plus 6 minus 3x minus 5 squared is negative for all values of x. So looking at this, the first thing we want to do is expand the brackets. And noting that the second one is going to be a double bracket question. So here we've got 5x squared plus 30x, and then minus, and then I've got 3x plus 5, 3x plus 5. So then expanding that all out, so we get 5x squared plus 30x minus, and it's going to give me an answer of 9x squared plus 30x plus 25. And then we need to deal with the negative, so we end up with 5x squared plus 30x minus 9x squared minus 30x minus 25. Then if I neaten all of that up, well, we can see straight away that the 30x's cancel out. I'm then left with minus 4x squared minus 25. And then I can factorize these two, in which then I have got minus 1, and then I've got 4x squared plus 25. So then we can then say as minus 1 is a factor or a multiple, straight factor. Well, actually, it's going to be a factor. It's going to be, I would probably go for. So let's just write that down. So as minus 1 is a factor, this will be this expression will be negative for all values of x. because again, what you could then say is basically this is always going to, the thing that's in the brackets is always going to be greater than 0, and so therefore a positive number multiplied by -1 will always give you a negative answer. So something along those lines, again, would just to reaffirm, would be absolutely fine. Then moving on to our last question, it says that a water tank is a cuboid. You are given that 1 cubic meter holds 1,000 litres. The tank is 5/6 full of water. Water is leaking from the tank at a rate of 20 litres per minute. And it says, how long will it take the tank to empty? Give your answer in hours. So the first thing we need to have a look at here is to look at that the volume of the tank is going to be 3 times 8 times 1.5, and that gives me an answer of 36 meter cubed. Now if you're not too sure how you to do this without a calculator, then I would probably suggest that you work with fractions. So you've got 3 times 8 times 3 over 2, and then it's just then a case of 3 times 8 or 9 times 8, which is 72, over 2, which gives me 36. Then from this, what we then need to do is then work out 5/6 of 36. So we divide by 6, then multiply by 5, and that gives me 30 meter cubed. So that's how much water we've got in the tank. And then we then need to look at how many litres that is. So 30 cubic meters equals 30,000 litres. And then we look at the rate. So we've got 20 litres per 20 minutes. So then we've got 30,000 divided by 20. So if I do that, I get 1500 minutes. And then we then need to convert that into hours. So we divide by 60. So then it's 150 divided by 6, which gives me an answer of 25 hours. And then we are done.